Hi, welcome. It's episode 25 of Kim's Art Show. This nice little experiment that I started in August. And now I'm going to call this the season finale because the holidays are coming and it's crazy and I have a lot of commissions and people are busy. And funny enough, a lot of the comments that I get are, you keep dropping more episodes. I can't catch up, because people following along at home sometimes are doing some of the work as well. So it'll give you a little time to enjoy the holidays and catch up with all of the shows. So you may remember I did this small study, part of that warm-up episode that I had done when we were segueing into pastels. And then episode 23, I had started to work up one of the pieces. And so I brought it in and I kind of popped it into a frame to look fancy, but that's where it ended. And I really like the sense of depth in there. When it had a gold frame, it really looked a little garish. So I have this fancy frame. I don't know that I love the fancy frame, but sometimes when it's what you have, you give it a shot. So here we are, back to my friend Emily's home, and it's the Northern Lights, and I kind of took a brush and I softened everything up, and even then you can still see that my marks are pretty harsh, and I wanted to see how my angles and things were for architecture. I'm not like some sort of architectural drafts person, but I do my best. So let's start at the top and work down, see where we go. So this really is about the Northern Lights, right? Lightest light, darkest darks. And we took very little time from in between recording that last episode to this. And so, I'm still kind of in that same stress of I'm having the yuck period on the show. And so let's see what I can do. I was seeing if I had a softer pastel that's the right color. And, like I said before, you generally don't have the color you're looking for. And it's different than with gouache, where I would just address what those colors were, and get it right by mixing. With pastel, it's not quite about that. So I've been teaching 2 classes and I had a workshop that I taught about color. And so my brain has been really like a little scattered trying to place all of the different tasks at hand. But it's been really fun and I've been amazed at everything that I've been able to kind of juggle. And I really think that this practice of coming here to the studio and discussing work and even like trying to pull in some level of an art history component has strengthened my work. I've entered a couple of art shows for some pastel and art societies that I belong to. I hadn't had time or work really available to do that. And so that feels really fun that I have work now because I've been doing this show. And so I really am grateful that I came in to NCTV saying, hey, let's do this. And that the answer was, sure. So I have to go to a meeting over the weekend coming and find out which of my pieces that I submitted to a show regionally won an award, because I got an email saying that I should plan to come to the show because one of my pieces won an award. And so it's only because I keep putting myself out there, so I'm not like, hey, look at me, I won an award, as much as I'm saying, like, show up and do the work and decent things can happen. So now I've grabbed a different pastel. It's the softer one, and I'm trying to figure out some of the negative shape and the values here. And there's like a segue, a blending gradient between these colors. My friend said, and I'm sure others have made this joke too, because it's pretty good, that the marketing team for Wicked, the movie, was doing really well with the Northern Lights, because it was those exact colors. Here's a nice one. Let me see if I can get this. Oh, that I like. Right, this color is kind of like a bridge. And you'll see, like, when the colors need blending, I blend a little bit with my finger, but that's like almost solidly breaks it up. I want the effect of like those layers. This is a really intense magenta. Can I get that in there? Yes. Can you see the difference between that? Like just some intensity right there. Because like I said, when we paint, it's about like darkest dark, lightest lights. The light story here is clearly the Northern Lights. I still can't believe I've seen them. And because it's about the Northern Lights, like I have exaggerated them a little bit. But right, why wouldn't I? So anytime I make a choice, like I'm gonna work on this paper, as things don't work out, I'm like, oh, it's because I chose that paper. I should have done the other. So, I get a little nervous about that, how things are coming out. All right, so a little time on architecture. Let's see. So it's funny, like the trim of the roof and such, all of that is actually a pretty sizable space. Like the trim from the roof to the building, the house, is sizable. I've painted so many house portraits and like houses on ornaments and things that it's like I've really learned to see architecture differently. Okay. Let's see, what about color, this one and this one. Yep, that's not bad. Okay, and then the porch roof comes out like this. And then, let's see, can it be lighter? And right around now, I'm wishing this were gouache because I would be mixing the colors I want. Okay, is that sitting right? Is this angle right? So let's play with that because I can. So there is a big shrub here. And then there's like the suggestion of, all right, there you are. Windows. What color is coming out of those windows? Maybe this one. Let's see. It's over here. Maybe even lighter. And I decided that I didn't put the door in the right place, so I'm going to address that again. So the door is actually over here. And in the middle of the door is a window, and it's pretty bright in there. Now, I just painted a suggestion of the door, but the window goes on top, so I just scraped away some. I think it needs to be brighter. How fun. Sometimes I don't get to use these colors, right? There's another window over here. Okay. Okay, let's start to unify some of the back. More darks. A study in darks. Of course it is. It's a nocturne. Some of my favorite workshops to teach are nocturnes. And it's just such a fun word, right? I need that to be in the blues. Let's see. So as I won't be back until January to show what did this painting come out like, I will put it like on my website or on my social media so you can take a look and be like, was she able to pull that out from the yuck period? And I hope you'll agree that I did. I hope I'll be able to too. Oh, it's pretty dark over here. All right.
That's my mom.
Right, so we know from past episodes that I get really jazzed up on the parts that are decorating the cake. So I'm gonna really get that Northern Lights correct, and then I'm gonna put in the tree. But you know, I don't like when you put something directly on top of something else. You know, like I don't want it ever to feel cut out. So I'm just gonna suggest where this tree is for me. And now I'm gonna concentrate on the Northern Lights more. All right, it was this fuchsia that I was playing with. And I blended it by using this hard pastel over it. And you know, I talked too about directional mark making. Like, it doesn't make sense for these Northern Lights that were like moving forward up toward the heavens, right? To paint them horizontally, you know. So the marks that I make are very up and down. I think I even want to find a lighter version. Is there one? Let's try this. This is a nice soft pastel. And so, as you venture into collecting pastels, you'll find that you'll need like an assortment that is hard, medium, soft, and that they all do something different. All right. Tree line. What color? Let's try this one. The tree line is very dark. Gosh, these are pretty colors. I can't believe I have the opportunity to use them. So I have some pastel pencils and things. And, you know, I said, sometimes I use those to kind of just like refine some of the shapes. Okay. All right. So a value study of this would be really interesting, just in, grays, black and white, because there's a lot of really beautiful darks, and the contrast is interesting. But I think so much of this painting is made interesting by those colors in the sky. Okay. I think I'm going to make that grass a little bit, the shrubbery, a little more. And it's dark over here. And then it's dark over here too. Goodness. So it's a sidewalk. Pretty dark. Still pretty dark. I know I talked about this once during a gouache episode, that sometimes I mix a color, I have it on my palette, and then I put it and it's entirely too dark. It's funny, I don't often err on the side of it being too light. It's usually too dark. What color is that? That's that funky, because there's a street light. Okay. It's funny, I said I was going to get in the tree, and then I started playing around. It's totally all right, but I do want to get back to where I said. Okay, so let's do that tree. What color should it be? So it has kind of like, there's a thickness here. So maybe I'll just use a bigger pastel. Let's see. There's the tree trunk, and it comes in like yay. And there's lots of pieces around it. So the challenge in being like painterly anytime for a tree is that you don't want to paint like each thing. It's, like painting like that, that's like the group of branches. And like with anything, it's this blend, right, of like small lines with big lines that we've called the calligraphy of your marks. I love that. So you can see that it makes me feel better when I start to get in these little details that bring it from the yuck period to a better result. And so we'll get there, but I have to just have faith in the process. And this is where that like positive space, negative space kind of starts to come in, like, did I lose something? Is that too big? Well, I can always kind of reclaim little parts. Okay. So I wish I had another like 4 inches over here, but I don't. That's all right. So let's see. There's the curb. There's a fence. And it's funny, like I say that, but you don't need to actually know what these kinds of shapes over here are. And then there's this hole. So when I draw things, they tend to grow. So I might smallen up the tree. I might not. Look at this. This will be crazy. All right. So All right, what next? Let's play back here as it grew a bit. This one is soft. I want the harder. I'm going to do the darker. When my daughter's friends or my friends tell me like, oh my gosh, Kim, your show is so relaxing, I love that. It's a huge compliment. And it's so different than I feel about it. But that's okay. Okay, so I like how some of that is finally, I like how some of it is coming out. Let's play here. There's little marks over there. All right, so now let's go back to the house, because right now it kind of looks like crazy. My poor friend Emily would be like, what did you do to it? So, okay, window. I think for architecture, you can really see like the marks that I tend to make. And I take a lot of time kind of downplaying those. Okay. Let's straighten this out. I'm going to change color. Okay, shrubbery. And you know, it's like we know that the shrubbery is green, and yet in the dark, it doesn't matter what color it is. It almost looks black in the picture. Let's thicken up the trim. So the trim is that thing I was saying, it's always bigger than I expect. It's quite large. The trim comes down here, and that's roof. And there's like these windows. I think I want this lighter. Is that lighter? It's like I'm talking to myself. So one of the posts, and another. Then there's the trim, post. Okay, there's some detail over here. All right, well, it's starting to feel a little bit more like a house, slow and steady. So another thing to consider, like let's say that I have made mark and mark and mark all over this, right? And now it just won't accept anything else. I can take my workable fixative and spray it. And what that does is give it a new toothed surface on which I can continue to work. And that's really freeing. Okay, so let's stand back for a second. It's looking more like a painting that I would do. Let's do some sort of cheat. I brought like a little frame because it grew so much. Let's see, like, what does it look like if I were to do that, right? That's much improved. And that's why I like working on paper so much. Like, I could just have that, just have this. Maybe it goes this way, you know? And so the chances of a canvas working aren't as good as the chances of a piece on paper working, because this is a big square, right? It might even be 12 by 12. Chances are there's a good 8 by 10 in there, or at least a 6 by 6. How forgiving is that, right? And you'll notice, right, when I think about what takes a painting from a good painting to a very good painting, are marks like these little slashes, this little highlight, those tiny pieces. Those are the things that if I were to judge a show, like from a distance, I'd be like, oh, the Northern Lights. But when I would come and look at it close, and I would see those subtle nuances, that they would make me very excited. And of course, we're winding up. And I'm finally at a place where I'm like, okay, this is going somewhere I'm excited with. You know, and as a painter, as artists, we can make up what we're seeing, right? At some point, I don't need this. I need to address this. So I think there are suggestions. It's a nocturne, so you don't get all the details. I might put another tree in here just to kind of soften that. I might make one of these house lights on the inside on so that the window kind of lights up a little bit. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but as always, I'm going to sit it in my studio and I'm going to give it some time and think about it. And so we're kind of almost done, and it's weird to think like I won't be doing this for around a month, because it's been something very steady in my life that I've looked forward to doing, and I'm so happy that you've watched too. So in that little break, like I said, feel free to message. Any suggestions, something that you'd like to see painted? I'd be eager to try. And you know, the marks that you make toward the end are smaller, more delicate. They almost have more impact than the bigger marks at the beginning. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the new year.